help in some parts of the world with their medical care, because some kids don't have the right to go to school because they have to pay their school fees, but their parents can't pay for them because they don't have enough money.
That's right. And sometimes if there's more kids in a family than one, you have to make some choices. So you picked 3 hospitals in Nigeria that you're really interested in helping. Can you tell me why those 3? And why Nigeria? Let's start with that. Why Nigeria?
Nigeria because I'm from Nigeria, and my mom's from Nigeria, and my dad's from Nigeria, and Nigeria really needs some help. Their buildings are like they're about to collapse on the children. Like they're all have cracks in them, and some of the chairs are not enough for all the students, so some students have to stand. And that's not really fair.
No, it's not, is it? Especially when you get to go to school in a very different setting. But medical care is pretty important too, right? Medical care and supplies. So you must know that those kids have a really hard time getting doctors' help and nurses' help. So you know that Project Cure takes donated equipment, and we make sure that it's equipment that you would use for yourself or your mom. We never send anything that you wouldn't send yourself. But why do you think it's important, the work that we do at Project Cure? Maybe just even, taking what hospitals no longer can use and making sure another country can. Why is that important?
Well, all countries should have the right to have enough medical supplies and medical care. And a lot of children need it in Nigeria mostly.
I love that.
Some children are getting sick very badly in Nigeria.
That's very true. And if you maybe have one doctor for every, 100 miles or 200 miles, can you imagine what it would be like if you got a cold and your mom said, okay, let's start walking, and we're gonna walk for 2 days while you're sick just to see the doctor. I mean, imagine that. And a lot of kids have to go through that, and adults, right? Or maybe your mom's pregnant with you and something doesn't feel right and she needs to see the doctor, so she's got to start walking and hope that when she gets to that hospital or clinic that the doctor's still there and he hasn't gone on to the next clinic to meet patients. So I think what you're doing is really going to save lives. It's not just going to help. It will help, but it is going to save a life. What do you think about that?
I think that's perfect.
Is that part of your vision?
Yes.
And what do you think you want to do as you grow up and continue with your title and your crown? And how do you want to use your platform?
I want to continue raising money to help kids and help them with their buildings because it's broken and looks raggedy.
Yeah, and if it looks raggedy, it probably has problems, right?
Yes.
So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Project Cure. Do you know much about us yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, we can do one of 2 things. I can either show you a video, or I can just talk to you and send you the YouTube link for the video. Which would you rather do? The video's 4.5 minutes. That's it. So I'll let you tell me how you want to use your time here.
I would rather do the talking part.
Me too. Videos are nice, but you can watch those and you can stop it and start it again at home, and it is on YouTube. So what we do, we have 7 warehouses around the country, and we take donated medical equipment and supplies. So let's say hospitals want to redecorate and they want new beds for everybody because they've just gotten a really big grant. Instead of throwing those beds away that are perfectly good, we ask them to send those to us. X-ray machines, bandages, Band-Aids, sutures, and then we evaluate all of it. We make sure that it's not expired or broken, and we take all of that and send it to countries that need it. Even more than that though, because just like you said in Nigeria, what if I decided I'm going to send to Nigeria a bunch of warming beds? Well, the weather in Nigeria is already warm. Why would I do that, right? So we travel to those communities and we do something called an assessment. So the 3 hospitals that you've identified, the first thing we'll want to do is go to those hospitals, and we want to talk to the doctors and the nurses and the administrators. We want to look at the power plugs Because can you imagine if we send some good electronic equipment and they don't have electricity, then what good, we haven't done any good, have we?
No.
No, then we've just moved stuff around. So we do an assessment at each hospital, and we work with the doctors and nurses and administrators, and we get a list together. You and your mom provided a list of things you think make sense, and you're probably right. But when we get into that hospital, we're going to understand what can actually work there. We'll even measure the doors, because what if we send some great beds and they can't fit through the doors, and then what? So we do a really detailed assessment. Then we come up with a list of things that work and that they need, and we come back here to one of the warehouses and we start pulling together all of that. We put it in a giant 40-foot container, like big. I'm going to show you one downstairs. And then we get it to a port. If it comes from Houston, it's probably going to go out near Galveston in our big seaport. And it goes on a boat to a port in Nigeria. It clears customs. It goes to the hospital. It gets unloaded. And the next time somebody touches that stuff, it's going to be to save a life. So that's how our process works. And there's the other thing that we never do. We don't go in uninvited. Who am I? I'm a woman in Houston, Texas. How do I know what someone in Uganda or Guatemala or Nigeria or even Ukraine needs? I don't know. So we wait until somebody like you or a community in an emerging country around the world says, hey, we need your help. And then we respond, and we respond pretty quickly. We start thinking about fundraising and having the money and all of that, and making sure we have the equipment. So we don't go in uninvited, and we go in and do this in partnership with those hospitals so that we make sure they get what they need, and not just a lovely trailer of beautiful things that they can't use because they don't have a transformer and the electricity doesn't match. Does all that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, any questions about it?
No.
Okay.